works better if you go live like right away. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. So we're live right now, Linda.
Hi, everybody.
So Linda was having some technical issues, and she wanted to be outside because the lighting's much better. But now
I am a technical difficulty.
Yes, but now we got to deal with it. That's just how it works sometimes. So, and she was saying to me, she's like, what were you saying about being uncomfortable?
I make myself uncomfortable a lot.
And why do you do that?
Well, because, it's like, what was the comment you made before I said that?
I don't even remember.
Sometimes the best conversations you have are when you're uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's right. And being uncomfortable a lot of times means being vulnerable.
Exactly.
And when we're working with these dogs, and Linda's the dog trainer, and actually I want to finish my thought here. So when we're working with these dogs, a lot of times we have to uncover with our clients some uncomfortable feelings when we're confronting behavior that has gone off into the ditch. And most of the times, if not all of the times, it's a human that has drove it in that direction.
That is correct.
And so being uncomfortable necessarily isn't being a bad thing, even though it feels like it's being a bad thing. Right?
It isn't a bad thing. And the thing, a lot of people should embrace their uncomfortableness. They really should. For a long time, even up until probably like maybe the last 5 years, there was a lot of things that I simply refused to do because they made me uncomfortable. Well, guess what? I had to do them anyways, right? And in the last couple of years, some things have occurred to me personally that essentially point out that I was foolish to not embrace my uncomfortableness. And I'm going to leave it at that and let everyone else speculate. But essentially, into everyone's life, a little rain must fall. And a whole shitstorm of massive flooding occurred in mine about 2 years ago. So it gave me some real perspective about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. And some of the things that I had to rationalize for myself is exactly how far I was willing to stretch my discomfort in order to achieve my own happiness. And I've done that repeatedly. And one of the things that I did, we leased a warehouse for like 4 years. I wanted to go big. We went big. And then I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to go home. And we closed the warehouse in May of this last year. The lease expired on May 31st. And we closed it, and I came home. I'm working maybe 25 to 30% comparatively volume-wise than what I was doing at the warehouse. Don't have anywhere near the heartaches. My health is improving finally. And essentially, I'm not anywhere near as stressed. And I am trying to reallocate my emotional focus towards something that's a little bit more, I don't know. I can't say beneficial because that's kind of pompous. And I'm not really big into pompous.
Meaningful?
It's more meaningful, more achievable, I think.
Okay.
And not only for myself, but for the people that hopefully I'm able to influence, if that's an appropriate word to say, because I've the gentlemen that are in this trade have a tendency to talk about beards, right? Well, if you look upon my snow white pate, that's a whole lot of beard right there, right?
Yeah.
And guess what color it is? It's
White.
all gray.
Yeah.
Right? So I have achieved that through stress, bad diet, and a whole lot of, horrible color genetics. But basically, there's this, I personally think that the trade is broken up into a group of several different groups of people. And it's not just, old trainers versus new trainers. It's people who fit a specific stereotype. And us oldsters, I don't know. I don't necessarily think that we're being pushed out, but I think that there's a distinct, what's the word I'm looking for?
Stigma against the old school,
yes.
like Neanderthal.
Yeah, Ooga Chugga, baby, right? And that was the catchphrase on those shirts was Ooga Chugga. But basically, the thing is, though, is it's like Julia McDonough is the canine contrarian. I'm the canine curmudgeon.
Okay.
There's, and there I have I've actually gotten softer in my old age. I'm nowhere near as confrontational, I guess, but I don't go looking for fights. I wait for them to come to me.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I think I'm a little bit better poised to, and it's not even a matter of protecting myself or protecting what I do, or even defending it, but being able to enunciate it more clearly, to define it more appropriately in language that people are able to understand. And I think that one of the qualities that occurs, whether you want it to or not, and there's been a lot of conversation lately, you with Big George, with Chris Fraze, about clients, about trainers who say they hate clients or trainers who say they hate dogs. And it's like, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
My clients infuriate me. The vast majority of times they infuriate me because I can't reach them. And I came to the understanding, actually, and I've been doing this since 1979. I came to that conclusion probably within the last couple of years, because there are just no more analogies that I can use that younger people can relate to. Nobody rides horses anymore. Nobody shoots bows. Nobody rides motocross. Nobody does these things that require a degree of physicality that is just not seen in today's young people. It's just not. So
it's definitely changed.
I had to come up with new analogies, new ways to communicate. And I mean, every single trainer out there on the face of the planet is going to say, yeah, but I have this one client. Yeah, I have a lot of them. And I go to bed at night and I stare at the ceiling and I try and figure out how I can reach that person, how I can make them understand. Yes, there are some who aren't going to give up their baggage. They're just not. But you have to try as hard as you can to reach the ones that you think you can't, because those are the ones that are going to turn that tide for us. The people that you please may tell a friend. The people that you anger are going to tell an army.
Yeah.
And I just had an experience the other day, and I own this. I mean, I absolutely own this. And I felt really bad about it, but then it made me analyze something that's been happening all along. And I don't know if it's age-related, I don't know what, but I'm getting forgetful, right? So I have to actually make a conscious effort to write notes, to remind me to make those callbacks, to write those emails.
I got these. I made these stickers.
I can't see them.
It says, write shit down.
Write shit down. Let me tell you something. And I'll be honest with you. I learned a lot about Google appliances, internet appliances, right? The Google Calendar, Google email, and all this other stuff. And Google, they're a fine product for being free, right? And if you learn how to use the products so that they merge with each other and they're relatively seamless, it's not that painful, right? It's a little bit of a slower process because one mechanism doesn't necessarily feed the other mechanism, right? So for every time they don't always play nicely. And then Google hates Yahoo, and Yahoo hates AOL, and AOL hates Comcast, and blah, 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 blah. So there's a bit of a learning curve. So every time I buy a new phone, I go through this. Excuse me one moment. Pearl, he's not going to kill you.
Yeah, Pearl, you're okay.
My cat is trolling my dog. You got to see this. It's amazeballs. This cat is a bastard, let me tell you. And he'll walk right up to her and say, you know what? F you. Get out of my way. Right? And she'll be like, okay.
You know, those cats make me question life in general. As a philosopher, because I've sat here, watched them taken out like a bunny, and the bunny's just screaming, and the cat's just like enjoying playing with it and torturing it and prolonging that agony. And I'm just like, man, this is serious business. I mean, that goes to show you too, the nature of nature and, how brutal it can be. And hold on one second. We got so many people joining us right now from all over. Awesome. So we have Claire, Amanda. And if you guys are watching this, please hit that share button. Let's get this shared live where people can interact with us. If you have any questions, go ahead.
Hey, Wiggins, kiss my ass.
There we go. So Josh Wiggins says, Linda's too darn old to work the computer. Hi, Linda. Yeah, we were a little late today. Hey, both. John
Hi,
Sparks says, "Hey,
Jackie.
gorgeous."
Hi, John. Checks in the mail, baby.
Cynthia says, "Hey, Linda and Bill." Jessica is driving home from work right now, and
Hi, Jessica.
you didn't jump on late. We're just beginning, so love these videos. Thank you for doing these. My pleasure, and thank you for joining us, Linda, and everybody. And everybody, tell me where you are in the world. I like to see all the responses. People are watching this from all over the world, and it's so great. Cindy Ann McManus says, "Us old farts are being dismissed."
We are, goddammit. It's time to fart. It's time to fight back. Sorry about that.
Hello, pretty people, Jura says.
Hi.
Jackie says, "Us old birds rock." Hello, Linda and Bill. And we are just getting better at picking the battles, Linda.
Yeah, I'm more willing to embrace the bigger ones now. I got a lot more power behind me because I have a bigger ass now, so that helps too.
You can back it up. Now you have the ass that your checks can actually cash, right?
Pretty much. Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with my hands. Greg Lyon, Sam Tabar, write shit down. Great, you guys. So share this. We have Austin, Texas, South Wales, Northern California. Valerie's in New Skeet, and then we have South Africa, England tuning in. Young Gandalf, we talked about. There's England, but Christopher Fraze is watching, of course.
Hi,
young Gandalf.
He's my second husband.
Yeah, I hear.
Chris is my kind of people. He really is.
He is. I'm glad I found him, and I'm glad I'm doing these because they're really getting popular, and I think that there's so much value in just listening to people and how we communicate a common problem that we face and observe every single day of our lives.
Here's another thing too. It's time that we collectively start fighting back. Period. Our rights are being whittled away. It's getting to the point now to where it's obscene the amount of power that these people have collected and amassed for themselves. And it's becoming increasingly difficult for people like me, people like Chris, there's a ton of us. There's a bunch of us out there that as we start aging out, we're not being replaced. And it's not because people don't have the desire to learn. It's because we are being legislated into obscurity. Mm-hmm. Now, I got an email from a young man not too long ago who said, "I really want to learn how to do this. Can you help?" And I said, "Sure. I can point you in the right direction. We can work together, so on and so forth." He's like, "I want to know what you know." And I'm like, "Buddy, I've been doing this since 1972. I can't just turn that over to you." And I make this joke a lot, right? I think a lot of people know that at one point in time, I actually worked with and for Pat Nolan.
Okay.
The most amazing experience as a dog trainer in my career. I worked with him for 10 months, and then I worked for him for 10 months, and then actually collectively all told about a year. And everything I thought I knew about dog training just blew out the window after I worked with that man. I would come home every day in tears, and my husband would look at me and say, "Why are you torturing yourself this way?" And I'm like, "Because I thought I knew what I was doing." And Patrick is the kindest, most gentle individual on the face of the planet. And he never said an unkind word to me ever. And I tell you something, it was actually transformative. I don't say that shit about anybody because there's nobody out there that was as impactful to me. And I've worked with some folks all across this country. I swear to Jeebus that probably had the most impact on my life as a trainer, that one singular experience, because it taught me what it didn't teach me anew, it affirmed, but it affirmed it in a way that made it clear so that I could actually reproduce those words, reproduce those actions, reproduce those results. Right?
Yeah.
Because I had my hands on a lot of leather. I had my hands on a lot of dogs. And it was in a venue that I had absolutely no experience with, for which obedience was still a component. So just because a guy trains retrievers, or just because a guy trains upland bird dogs, just because a guy trains sport dogs or what have you, doesn't mean that those things don't apply elsewhere. And it
That's
occurred to me, it absolutely occurred to me, like it was like a light bulb moment with, you know, 1,000 candle, whatever, just blasting me behind my eyelids, that the things that apply here also apply elsewhere. And we would get the occasional dog. I mean, I can remember during the summer, I think I had the task of teaching 9 retrievers how to swim. For whatever reason, they had poor introductions to water. They were never introduced to water at all, or they were, you know, for whatever variety of reasons, water was just not their bag. Well, our job was to train them to retrieve. Our job was to train them to retrieve anywhere, and that included water. Some of the most comical moments in my entire career happened that summer. Falling out of John boats, getting wet all the way up to my armpits, you know, and we worked in shallow water. I mean, Lily Ponds is not deep water, right? It's long water, nice technical ponds and all kinds of great stuff. But I learned so much, and I enjoyed every moment of it, and I pined for it. I absolutely pined for it. I pine for it still. But, you know, the thing is, and this is one of the things that I tell Christopher and I mean, a bunch of people talked about this, and I tell every person that's ever interned with me, don't go to pet dog trainers. Don't. Go to people like Pat Nolan, Dick Stahl, Mike Suttle, Ivan Balabanov, Bart Vallon. There's a whole bunch of people out there. Gottfried Dilday. I don't know if he's still working or not, but, you know, there's people out there that are still getting it done. And those are the people that folks need to go to. But the other side of that coin is you're not going to learn what they know in a soundbite. It's not going to happen in a seminar. It's not going to happen in a week. It's not going to happen in whatever. You take what you learn and you apply what you learn every day until it's by rote. You do it with your eyes closed. And one of the exercises that we actually engage in is I make my owners close their eyes. I'll put them on a leash. And we were talking earlier about the tactile sensation, right? Your hand is basically, the leash is a conduit for information, a direct line of transmission from the dog to you. That tells you what to do. And I make people shut their eyes, and I'll work them through that. I'll be the dog. And let me tell you something. A 300-pound dog on the end of a leash that's being held by a 120-pound woman, right?
Yeah.
People think, oh, my God, they can't do that. They'll knock her off her feet. And, like, once you teach them the mechanics behind that movement, they're just agog at how much power they actually have. Because it's not about hand jerking and butterfly hands and all that other nonsense. It's actually learning how to feel the leash for its intended purpose, which is a transmission of information. That is it. It's a two-way street.
Well, and to know, you know, the dog knows the difference between that and that. It doesn't need to be both, like it doesn't need to be this, you know, like to know. And then that's why I like the leather too, because of the weight of that leather and then that transmission. John Sparks says, folks like Linda, Chris, Pat, Tony, Big George, Bart, and so many have been in the trenches making mistakes, being corrected, and learning from those mistakes, being humbled, getting back up and trying over and over. There is no free ride to the top. It is a long, bumpy ride. And what we're doing is, if we can borrow some of these people's scars to further that path, that the path that we were blazing, you know, that's a great thing to do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I know that there's people out there who remember who Imelda Marcos was, right? The wife of some petty despot. I can't even remember. I think it was the Philippines. And she collected shoes.
Big brain.
Right? Yeah. That's a thing between Dave and I. Big brains. I had a client many years ago.
Like PhDs and.
Yes, this guy. He actually was a director for programs with the VA, which of course is housed here in Maryland. And you know, big head, big job, big head. Nice guy, super nice guy. But he had to wax philosophical and try and figure out the whys and the hithertos and the whitherefores for doing these things. And he had this ginormous, morbidly obese, totally insecure, nerve bag German Shepherd dog that was eating people, right? So he had this difficulty. And one day David was out at my house, and we were talking to this guy. He was there for a lesson with this dog. And I just kind of turned around and looked at him. I don't know. I can't even remember at this point whether it was Dave or I turned around and looked at him. I said, well, it's because of your PhD. Your big brain just can't wrap yourself. You just can't wrap your big brain around this. And it stuck. So now, and it's true. There are certain types of people who, because I firmly believe that their education impedes their ability to get back in touch with the nature aspect of the human-dog relationship. And I make this joke all the time. I mean, I am impeded by some pretty significant health issues. I have a really bad hip, which I had bad before I got fat, and now I just got fatter. I had a dog unsheathe an Achilles tendon in my right leg. And it took over 2 years to heal. But now the funny thing is now that I'm almost 60, I can't wear certain kinds of shoes. I have to wear shoes that don't bind around the ankle because it's just such an irritant. And I went from wearing and I'm 5'10". So when I was younger and prettier, I used to wear 4-inch heels a lot until that fateful day. And now I don't. I wear flats all the time. Even a 1-inch heel, any kind of pressure put on the arch is a pain in the ass, right? But the thing is, though, is I joke with people all the time. The point I'm finally driving to, because I do like to talk, is I'm fat because I don't have to move a lot. I just have to move at the right time. Mm-hmm. And the problem that owners have is the fact that they're always too late, right?
I mean,
so they absolutely. Do you understand what I'm saying? So timing, to me, timing is everything. You can suck as a dog trainer, but if your timing is good, you're going to get the result you want. Excuse me, one moment. I have to beat up on a dog.
Yeah.
Otto, that'll do. Thank you.
Well, that's such a hard thing to legislate, too.
It is. It's not. It's
people are uncoordinated. I see it when I'm like, oh crap, we're gonna have our time with this one.
Yeah, and the thing is I had Margot Woods, of course. I knew Margot for many years. She basically, I think I first met her initially around 2000, 2001, and we got to be chummy. She made me join the IACP in 2002. Well, she didn't make me, but I mean, she encouraged me to join the IACP in 2002. And she used to hold salons at her place down in Laurel, which is probably from where I currently live. It's less than an hour's drive. And I used to go down every Thursday and we'd hang out, right? Mm-hmm. So she would invite trainers from all over the place. The vast majority of them wouldn't come. You have to remember, this is when the whole clicker movement was just hot, right? It was what all the cool kids were doing. Everybody 90s, was, early 90s? No, the early 2000s, right?
Early 2000s.
Yeah,
okay,
before,
that's right.
This is before Cesar Millan, right?
Okay.
So this is when everything started really taking off, and basically people were really getting into the whole, I can lower expectations and have a doggy who loves me because it doesn't matter that I can, that I have to have a measurable standard of excellence, whether it's, a passing CD score or whatever. That's at the point in time when we started seeing the standards for any measurable standard being lowered, right?
Yeah.
She had a guy that she was working with. She literally had to teach this man how to walk. I kid you not. And for those of you out there who have met Margot Woods, I'm 5'10". The top of her head came under my boob. Okay? I mean, she was a tiny woman.
Really?
Left, right, sit your dog. That's exactly right. Yeah. But basically, she would walk behind this guy and march. So every time she raised a foot, she would say left, right, and the back of her knee or the front of her knee would hit the back of his knee. So he would use that as a cue to move his legs. Okay. The guy ended up getting utility titles on Newfoundlands.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
His name was Paul. He was like 6'90". I mean, this guy was enormous. He was a huge guy. And she got titles. She helped him get titles on, I think, 2 out of the 3 noobs that I met while he was training there. And I mean, she was
obedience titles.
Obedience titles. AKC utility. I think he got UD on his first dog. Who, when they started with that dog, I think the dog was already like 4, and she was a bit of a dog eater. And then he had a Landseer and another black dog that he got. I think. A UDX, and I think he got an Och on one of the dogs. I'm not sure which one.
Very cool.
I think the Landseer, as a matter of fact. But anyways, but I mean, he learned. I mean, and this guy was, I think he was some form of an engineer kind of person,
Okay.
right?
That's
So
what John,
basically, desk sitting.
he says that in his local market, he gets a lot of tech-minded folks, coded and specific. They're very difficult time understanding dogs and training them. So I want to see. He says very intelligent, and I want to disagree with this word, intelligent. Big brain folks, because intelligence has the generative quality of care. I would say that I would use the word intellectual.
Intellectual and highly
Big brain
educated.
folk.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
But the intellect, and then we have the generative quality that is generates life and care, and those are basically merged together. So you're taking the aspect of the logic with the emotional in consideration too. That's my philosophical side.
And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. There's this notion that, I've seen it once, I can do it. And it's like, no, you cannot. There is absolutely no way that you are able to amass the skill level for the tactile sensation that you require in order to be able to do these things, right? Can you hold on for just 1 second?
You bet.
Can I mute this for just a minute?
Yeah, here, I'll pull you down. And then I'll chat for just a second, and then So yeah, you're good. You can go. I don't know if you guys can hear. I'll mute her here. I don't know if you can hear or not. But so no common sense. Academics are tough, absolutely. And timing, understanding, doing things consistently, or what we are teaching, and the standards of what she talks about as well. And I want to say hello to my brother from another mother. Larry Crone is here. Hey, Larry. Says, hey, buddy. And it's something that I think as professionals, we owe it to our clients. Lots of bill today. You're getting your bill fixed. I'm going to send you a little piece of my beard. So, and the thing is that people tend to overthink stuff too, and they try to, she was talking about being able to see something once and be thinking that you can recreate it. And as a glass artist, I can see a lot of glass being made and go to these experts, but do you think that I'm going to be able to recreate that degree of excellence just by watching them? No way. I mean, it takes so many years of practice, but it's not just practice. You're back on, Linda. It's not just practice, but it's also application and learning. And one of the biggest, or one of the best known glass artists in Murano, Italy, he says that it's not about what you can create, it's about what you can fix when things go wrong, because it's going to go wrong. And it's not about the end product, but the process. And that's what this is, a relationship, an interspecies relationship. And it takes a process of learning, both for the human and then the dog. And the way that we see the world is different. And the dog is incapable of seeing the world the way that human beings see it, because they don't have the parts of the brain that we have, and can't reason and contemplate like we can. And so it's important for us to understand the way that dog kind of sees the world, and so we can teach them in a correct way. Hi, Linda.
Absolutely. Hi. Well, one of the things that I find incredibly disturbing, and I'm not sure whether or not this is, I don't know if it's because culturally we are, and it's not because it's not just here, it's overseas as well. I talk to overseas trainers all the time, and basically they're telling me the exact same thing that's occurring here, is everyone expects everything in a minute.
Yeah.
In an absolute minute.
Instant gratification, these little phones that we got.
Yeah.
I mean, one push of a button and we got what we're looking for, including live streams.
And the unfortunate reality of that is dogs don't function under those parameters. And it's like, I say this all the time. If I never saw an adult dog again in my practice, I would die a happy woman. If I could surround myself with puppies, I would never train another adult dog. If I could surround myself with nothing but retriever puppies, you would never see me again. Never. Right? But the reality is these are not the dogs that we train. The dogs that we train are damaged goods. They've been made damaged by inappropriate owners, making them do inappropriate things and saying, oh, well, he'll grow out of it, or we'll take care of that the next time, or whatever. And what they don't realize
he'll grow
is,
out of it.
Yeah.
He'll grow into it, folks. He's
Exactly.
going to grow into it. He's not growing out of it.
Exactly. And I wrestle with people all the time. And this is the one thing that just infuriates the snot out of me, is because we were talking about analogies earlier, and the same thing applies. It's like everybody at least has gone up to an 8th grade education in this country, right? Most 99.9%, right? You can probably emancipate yourself and drop out of school earlier than that, but there are certain benchmarks you have to meet, right? Well, the bottom line is 8th grade, okay, is still enough to know how to read, right? 8th grade is still old enough to know how to manage some of life's problems, okay? High school is certainly better. College is better. Grad school is better. Life makes you more experienced. So if you're not embracing the things that you learn in life, you are not going to be prepared for the things that life throws at you. That applies for dogs as well. The average person becomes a productive member of society after the age of 18, usually between the ages of 20 and 25. Productive member being no longer living in your parents' basement playing frickin' video games and asking your mom to bring you Hot Pockets, right?
Right.
So why is it different for dogs? Why do people have such a hard time understanding that dogs need to go through that growth process? And what people don't realize is in humans, the period of adolescence is the longest growth period in the entire, in the human way they grow, right? It's
Almost
the same in dogs.
30 years. Almost 30 years.
Exactly. It doesn't start until anywhere between 9 and 13, depending on, extenuating circumstances. In dogs, it starts at 12 weeks of age and lasts until they're about 2. Okay? So people, and I have a client, I love this man, I do. I have a client with a really nice young dog who is under the assumption that this dog should be providing polished performance by the age of 10 weeks. That's just not possible, right? I'm like, this is a goal, okay? And it's another one, this, extremely well-educated power player, brings serious cash, drives fancy cars, the whole 9 yards. But the bottom line is he doesn't seem to understand that he had to grow up too.
Yes.
And I'm like, you know what? My mom would kill me. God rest her soul. She's been gone many years. But if she knew some of the shit I pulled when I was a teenager, I would never have been able to leave the house. Right?
Like what? Like what did you know?
like none of your damn business, okay? But basically it was all in good fun. Mostly. But the bottom line is dogs need to have the opportunity to grow. I do a lot of stuff with puppies. I do a lot of research on puppies. Puppies fascinate me because young children fascinate me. Infants, right? Infants to toddlers. You learn more before the age of 3 than you will ever learn throughout your entire life. That's a fact. That's a fact. It's scientifically proven. That's a fact, right? And this is real science, not just bullshit pseudoscience, right? So between 21 days, when a puppy is finally cognitively aware, until about 12, 14 weeks, that puppy is nothing but a freaking sponge, right? A giant sponge in an ocean. And then basically is sucking up as much, every single thing that occurs to that puppy registers virtually a permanent memory, right?
That's the formative years or formative years. It's the
formatted. Exactly.
That is going to be drawn on for the rest of this dog's life. And if you want to format that dog to have a little, little calculator brain, or do you want to format this dog to have like a Macintosh Pro, right? That's something that is.
And that's just it, is we're installing software. And if you install that software incorrectly, you are going to be spending an inordinate amount of time recovering from those mistakes, right?
Right.
And it's like, this is the, and this goes back to the whole training, the whole diaspora behind training is the fact that all these people have a tendency to put themselves into factions. I'm a working dog trainer. I'm a hunting dog trainer. I'm a this trainer. I'm a that trainer. I'm like, no, you dumbass, you're a trainer. And if you're starting out with the very young, then you should all pretty much look the exact same at these certain behavioral benchmarks throughout that dog's life until they're ready to perform the work for which they were intended. Fight me.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And let that, I mean, let the dog show us too,
Exactly.
Let the dog show us with their, I mean, you're going to produce amazing dogs, man.
Yeah.
You're going to produce, and that's it. I want to go through some of these comments. Learning the timing, understanding motivation, doing things correctly is what we are teaching.
Absolutely.
That's basically it. And then I think she was talking about the Margot Wood story, left, right. Got to build that mind-muscle connection, myelin. Yep, must be grown and developed through deep practice. And guess when the myelin really develops in human brain is around 27.
Yeah, they had
29 years old.
I just read something the other day, and this is, everybody likes to slag on men. Chicks like to slag on guys. Guys like to slag on chicks. And I don't care who the hell I offend, because there's no one on this planet, female, and there's no woman on this planet, right, that is more, I can't say feminist, because that's not who I am, that's more female-oriented than me, right? And the reason I say that is because, honey, I grew up in the 60s. You can kiss my entire ass, okay? I know what it was like, right? I saw what it was like. And the thing is, though, is a whole bunch of stuff hasn't really changed, but enough of it has. You pretty much make who you want to be. But the bottom line is scientifically, we are different. We're different.
Dude, there's so many differences, like 200 differences, because now we have functioning MRIs that can watch us while we think.
Exactly. Right? And men's brains mature slower. I'm sorry. Women's brain, and there's a reason for that.
Which brain?
Why?
Which one?
I'm sorry. Which brain?
Which
one? The one above your shoulders. The one above your shoulders.
Okay. The other one probably
that never matures. Yeah, that never matures. Right. But the thing is, though, is there's a biological reason for that. And the thing is that people don't recognize is the fact that women have to be prepared sooner because what?
Because what? I don't know. Tell me.
We're the mothers.
Yeah, childbirth. That's what I was just going to say.
We're the mothers, right?
Yeah.
And although it takes a man to raise a baby, or it takes a man to make a baby, it doesn't take a man to raise a baby. Okay? And the thing is, men bigger, stronger, faster, what have you. Okay? And even in muscle research, they're finding out that not only are women capable of greater feats of endurance, their muscles recover faster. Right?
Okay. I know
so
they handle more pain. I talked to my tattoo artist friend, and he's like, "Oh yeah, chicks can sit down and like handle it." Where some guys are like, "I'm a wuss." That's why I talked to him. Because
the tattoo I have on my forearm, it was over 6 hours sitting, and I'm like, "This is cakewalk. I need a nap." And the guy's like, "Dude, this isn't hurting." I'm like, "No, I'm fine." The next ink I get is going to be someplace where it's probably going to cause me a little bit more pain, but I guarantee you it's not going to matter, right? Because it just doesn't. And the thing is I'm not saying trust me, I've been through labor. Labor was not difficult for me. The freaking spinal injection, what do they call that, to help relax me so that he would come out faster? The epidural. Epidural.
Yeah.
That bitch sucked. Okay. Yeah, we know, Christopher. We know. I still love you anyways. Right. But I mean, and the thing is, though, is it's the same with dogs. I mean, male dogs, and every single trainer I've ever known classifies, there are trainers out there who detest male dogs. There are trainers out there who love male dogs because they're big, dopey infants until they're like 4 and 5 years old. I personally prefer bitches because they mature faster. Yeah. Right. I also prefer bitches because they have a tendency to, they're a little bit more rational in their decision making than males are. Because we're mammals. We all pretty much act the same way.
Yeah.
right? There's not a lot of difference between
My
us.
wife stops me from doing stupid shit all the time.
My husband, see, here's the thing. I probably should have been born a guy. I really should, because I'm very, very masculine in a lot of regards. I'm the adventurer. I'm the one that, and my husband points this out to me all the time, because my son, Connor, he's 22. He's now in Iwakuni, Japan. He's a Marine. And he does some really stupid shit sometimes, right? Who doesn't? Who doesn't? But he didn't get that crap from his daddy. He got it from me, right? Because I'm the dumbass who's out on motorbikes, and I'm the dumbass who's heading for that brick wall, and I'm the dumbass. The Firestone Park. This is 1,000 years ago. I got tossed over a log timber jump on a cross country course in up near Cleveland, Ohio, when I was like 16. Broke a bunch of shit. My parents didn't find out about it. I was just like, oh, I fell off my bike, right? That's how, and I was damaged, and I didn't want my parents to find out, because I'm like, I'll never be allowed to ride again. Well, I wasn't allowed to ride to begin with, and when my parents found out after I healed, they just freaking tarred me, right? Because, and I was, out of 4 kids, I was probably the one that got away with the most, because by the time my parents got through the other 3, they were exhausted. So, there's that. But here we go. Here's my son doing stupid boy things, right? And we're not pointing at his dad for doing stupid boy things. We're pointing at his mother, because she's the one that actually put this stuff in his genes. But
typically, it's the other way around. I mean, it could go either way. Valerie says the talent. Oh, my wife is walking in the door. So the
hi, wife.
Greg. Dawn. Linda says hello, Dawn. She says hi. Agreed, Greg. What's simple to most? So Greg said earlier, it's simple but not easy. What's simple to most still can be difficult for other. Learning how to break it down and explain so dog, human get it is the key. That's
yes.
right. So many people complicate. Oh my gosh. Chris showed me this video of all these trainers that he says not dog training on it. And I can't believe it, man. It's so crazy that they're just making up. I think they're making up stuff as they go along or something, or just kind of labeling it, or I don't know.
Nothing infuriates me more. Nothing infuriates me more.
And they stand like they're the expert, and it's like, man, I don't know what to think of it, man. I think they're the kind of.
Well, here's the thing, and this is where I'm going to lose a lot of people, because I'm going to piss a bunch of people off, right?
All right, let's go.
Dog training has the lowest barrier of entry of any trade. You don't need.
Tomorrow you can wake up and say,
exactly. I had a dog once, so therefore I can train dogs. And the thing is, though, is the public is no wiser. And this is one of the reasons why, is because we have lowered the standards for behavior. We've lowered the standards for behavior for dogs. We've lowered the standards for behavior for people. And as a result, there's this huge impasse of what the expectations are for dog behavior. And this started in the 90s. This goes way, way back, right? People are like, well, and basically, and I say this a lot, and Cindy will, she's heard me say it a few times, or seen me say it, picking up their jacks and going home. So basically, Rally, the original Rally O, was started by the APDT, which at the time was the Association of Pet Dog Trainers. Now it's Professional Dog Trainers, because those people could not compete in AKC obedience. Hand to God, it's true, right? Because they thought that, and it became this whole argument that in order to achieve a novice title in obedience, you had to be mean to your dog. No, that's not true. So instead of creating higher standards and weeding these people out, they started get away from me. I'm sorry, that was an interrupting phone call. That's just annoying as hell.
Okay.
Basically,
you got quiet. Did she get quiet? She got quiet in my headphones.
Yeah, because I was dismissing the phone call. Apologies. Okay. Folks. But basically, as a result, the AKC is like, oh my God, we're losing market share. So the AKC started adding additional classes, reducing the standards in their own,
That's right.
in their own the type of classes that they were offering, and making it more appealing.
It wasn't a prerequisite to have the obedience title before you go to the rally? Is that?
Well, no. No, you can title and rally without having a title in any of the regular obedience classes, right? Okay. You have to have a novice title in order to get to open, and you have to have an open title in order to get to utility. Yeah, but they basically rally and obedience are completely separate. Well, once upon a time, I still do. I don't do it so much because the AKC will probably never see another dime of my money. But basically, years ago, I used to field a fairly high number of obedience trial competitors a year, novice through open. I've never gotten a dog through utility. I've trained 2 of my own dogs through utility. Both unfortunately died at soul-crushingly early ages. So we're moving off that subject real quick before I start bawling my eyes out. But basically, I would go to these trials to support my students, and I would watch the rally ring because they're usually first in order to make room for the obedience. And you can see the obedience numbers dwindling dramatically. I mean, there'd be like 300 rally participants, and they'd have all these rings dedicated to rally, and then there'd be maybe 40 people in obedience total. Well, that's kind of an exaggeration, but the higher, like through open A and B and the utility, the numbers would be way down. I'd see these dogs competing in rally, and they'd come over and they'd try to cut it in a regular obedience, and the dogs would fail abysmally, but they'd get their rally titles in three shows, right? Yeah. So I had a group of clients. There was Australian cattle dogs, a couple of Australian shepherds, a German shepherd, just a couple of different breeds, and we trained through novice and open. And I'm like, when you go to Timonium this year, enter in rally too. Just cleaned everybody's clocks. They were getting 99s, and they'd get the bonus point so they'd get 109 and what have you. And they were coming out of there with 110, of which 100 is a perfect score, and then the additional 10 is for an exceptional skill. I can't even remember what it is. Someone that does rally could tell me. But anyways, and then people got pissed off. People were angry that these dogs were doing well, and it's like, so why don't you train to the same standard and get the same result? And I tell my clients now that do competitive obedience, it's like, if you're going to do rally, do obedience first, and then go have fun in rally. And 2-1, every single one scores either 1 or 2, right? First or second. Yeah. Rally excellence, rally advanced, and so on and so forth. And they do really, really well, but they have their obedience titles first. That's the way it's done, right? Absolutely. And the other thing is because of and Christopher will agree with this, because this is one of the reasons why I'm in love with this guy, because we feel the exact same way. The lowered expectations for dog ownership is a direct corollary to the number of legislative sessions that are including anti-dog legislation, right? Worldwide, not just here, not just in Massachusetts, which is the most recent one. But the thing is, though, is if you can't control your feckin' dog in public, keep the bitch home. Yeah. Right? Be a responsible dog owner. And just like I was talking to him about responsibility, your ability to respond. If you buy a high maintenance breed or a powerful breed, you're going to have an ability to respond to this animal when they get into overwhelm or when they experience something in the human world that trips them out, that they don't know how to deal with. They need to look to you as that kind of compass to guide them. That's correct. And it's really, it galls me. It does, because it's like wherever I've lived, when I leave, I draw a bunch of trainers into my wake. And then a couple of years later, they're gone. And they go to places that I had special permission to go into. Like when I lived up in Southern York County in Pennsylvania, there was no place my dogs weren't welcome. No place. I could take them into convenience stores. I could take them into the vestibules of restaurants, places like that, right? Places where dogs were never allowed. And now people try that stuff now, and they're told they have to leave. When I go to repeat the same behaviors I've been repeating in the 30 years that I've been in this area, I'm not allowed to, because someone else fucked up my gig. Yeah. Right? Because their doggy was molesting people or shat on the floor or grabbed something it shouldn't have, grabbed, or caused some form of chaos that reflected on me, right, as a trainer. And I detest that. I got into a fight with a trainer, and this is years ago. This is in the early days of Facebook, because they were shooting video of their clients taking their dogs to some like a Home Depot or a Lowe's or some big box store that sold home goods and allowing the dogs to climb all over merchandise. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, you ignoramus? Do you realize how detrimental this is to the rest of the world?
Yeah, damaging.
Right.
Goods,
and I mean, it's like I walk into I won't go to the Home Depot near us because of an incident involving dog training, as a matter of fact. But the Lowe's, I take my dogs there. We work outside. We work in the loading areas. We work inside. It's not a problem. I have walked in after people where dogs have urinated and defecated on the floor. The person just walks away, allows their dogs to destroy property that's for sale, merchandise, right? And then they wonder why they're getting kicked out of these places. Because you dumbass. Well, you sat there and you've poisoned it for everybody.
They're entitled. I mean, and then they'll flip out. Look at all there's fake spotter videos and all this stuff, but there's also just this weird culture of entitlement. In the last decade especially, but I mean it's very interesting to see, and I think that I think human behavior is fascinating, man. I watch these addicted and different shows where people have gotten their lives off into the ditch, and it's some of the same people that I deal with these dogs, Yeah,
it's the same. It's affecting the same pleasure centers in the brain.
Yeah,
I really believe that
love hormone, love that they get, and if they can't get that from another human being, sometimes
oxytocin. You bet.
They transmute that into that dog, and in doing so, they screw up this dog. Legendary. Let me go through some of these comments we have. Chris says, because we break a very natural learning experience when we remove a dog from its mother and litter mates and completely stop the consequential learning process and teach the puppy that it is in charge by mistaking our kindness for weakness as they turn to or so they believe they are in charge. And the behavioral issues come to head. Yep. That's right.
That's exactly right. And this is something, and it's almost indicative of males, right?
And different dog breeds mature at different rates than others as well. I mean, there's some that are cognitively boom, like they're locked in.
John Sparks and I have had this conversation on many occasions. Like people are like, oh, it's on how you raise them. No, you dimwit, it's not. There's a genetic predisposition, right? There's a genetic predisposition. The Molossers, right? The guarding breeds. Okay, you can be assured that when they hit a certain age, they're going to go, who goes there, right? They are genetically predisposed to have a higher level of suspicion than your average freaking golden retriever, right?
Yeah,
it occurs a lot faster.
Larry, so today you can just stick your finger in a dog's ass and fix it all.
Okay, Larry, I'll pay folding money to see you do just that.
Yeah. How many dogs' butts have you stuck your finger up while you were training them?
None. That would be no, right? Not ever, not for any reason. But I think it's hysterical. I do. And that and these like pit bull apologists, right? I have nothing against pit bulls. Nothing against pit bulls. I hate the people who are acquiring these dogs and thinking that they can get away with this bullshit with love, right? They can't. And the pit bulls are no more, well, here's the thing. They're not bred to be aggressive towards other dogs. They're bred to have really, really strong pushback, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with their aggression towards other dogs. It could be anything. Dogs just happen to show the signals that the dog understands more readily, right?
Absolutely.
So it disturbs me that these wonderful dogs are getting trashed because of these bonehead owners who think that they can fix everything with cookies and love, right?
They're trying to think with their emotions, and they're just trying to go with what feels good.
Yeah.
And it's not, and I say doing what's right doesn't always feel good. But when this dog's attacking somebody or going crazy, does that feel good? How's that feel to you? Because they're talking to me, they're asking for help, and I'm like, this doesn't feel good. I mean, and life isn't all about feeling good. I mean, that's why we have contrast. That's why we feel sad. And so when we feel good, it actually it feels better because we know what sad feels like. And
you can't have pleasure without pain. You can't have love without hate. You can't have cold without hot. You can't have light without dark.
That's right. Can't have bitter or sweet without bitter. All that.
Yep.
You know, story of my life. Just watch a training video where some idiot was training dogs not to be aggressive. Yeah. By letting other dogs basically attack.
All right. Yeah. That's that video. That video made me insane.
Yeah, the guy's just saying that, like, oh, okay, cool. I like this position of it, and I'm just like, you're not being an advocate for that dog at all.
No, and the one dog is literally being sodomized by the other one, and he's like, oh, good dog. Oh, hey, this is great. And I'm like, are you out of your freaking mind? This dog without a muzzle would have killed that other dog. There's no doubt. Absolutely. Right? And it's like, the piloerection, the stiff, rigid, I think Heather Houlihan called it rattlesnake tail, which is exactly what it is. The whole thing is, nothing is moving except the tip of that tail. And I'm like, if these people can't understand that this is actually aggression, right? Yeah. Cold, and stone cold, I'm going to kill you aggression. Yeah.
Like this dog's like, oh, now you're talking.
Exactly. Now that I have you pinned, make a move so I can bite the shit out of you. And I'm like, this is not helpful. This is not helpful. And that's being streamed across the globe and being endorsed by National Geographic Wild. And I'm like, how could you? How could you? How could you do this? How could you do this to dogs? How could you do this to people who actually work with dogs for a living? We just recovered from the whole Cesar Millan thing, for God's sake. That only took almost 20 freaking years. And now you're doing this shit? Are you kidding me? Come on now. Do I have to go down to D.C. and pound you in your freaking head? I'm like,
smash.
Oh, Linda smash. Linda, when Linda gets pissed off, Linda's not a happy person. You see me getting red, right? You see this face getting red? This is my blood pressure going like sky high, right?
Let's take a moment to namaste. Hold on, everybody.
Just relax. I know, relax.
I need Chris to lead us in some chants.
Yes. Narrating what they assume is going on with the dog all the time. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Matt Heslam says, narrating what they assume is going on with the dog the whole time. Need to train the human, not splurge rubbish to try to make themselves look good. And it's like, I have a unique insight. I know what this dog is thinking. It's like, no, this dog is predator mind. This dog is living in the moment, being very opportunistic at what we are presenting them and taking full advantage of this dog who we're putting into a very vulnerable position and then taking his defenses away with his face and his nose and his teeth. I mean, it just was so silly to me that these guys are, I don't even know. I mean, the issue with social media is when people don't like what they hear, they get called out on their BS, take their jacks and go home. That's right.
Their jacks and go home. And anyone of a certain age knows exactly what jacks are.
Yeah, absolutely. The ball and jacks.
Yeah.
Why we have different definitions of dog training? Because I studied masters, practiced, self-criticized, failed, improved, evolved, sought coaching, failed again, improved, entitled, certified, and experienced 30 years and continue to do so in order to truly understand the definition. You just lower the bar to the ground and made up a new definition. And then, a lot of these people too that are decided in their philosophy, they're dead in the water, man. You're just waiting for a dog to come poke the holes in that philosophy that you are so firmly grounded in. The real dog trainers are the ones that are constantly evolving, that are learning from everybody and applying what they know. And even when they fail, I mean, they go back and hit it again. The PP with the rubbish scene to where it's late 90s got so awful. Dog lost in the lunacy. So many dogs lost in the lunacy. And that's what it is, man, is that these dogs pay for this philosophical nonsense with their lives.
Yep. And every day. And they're like, and I see these, I had a sidebar conversation with a couple of colleagues of mine on another list that I'm on. And basically we were talking about the whole, the veterinary examination of training methodology, right? So and the science, the whole issue behind science, pseudoscience and science. And the vast majority of these quote unquote studies that veterinarians or veterinary behaviors are engaging in are owner facilitated. So it's a poll literally that's mailed out to owners about the stages of what their dog went through, if they saw increased aggression, so on and so forth. It's like, so here we have people who have never actually physically handled a leash in their life asking other people who have handled it very poorly about their opinions, and they're calling this science, right? So then there's a big increase. And the funny thing is and this is part of the same conversation, since probably, and like if you've been in this business for any length of time, you see the trends ebb and flow, right? So way back in the day, you were a club trainer. You trained group classes at the local training club, or you were a specialist. You trained gun dogs, you trained protection dogs, stuff like that, right? So then when dog training started catching on as something outside of Hollywood, right? Dog training was basically, it was still mostly club training and group training, but people who needed help wanted you to come to their homes. And then all of a sudden it became, I don't have the time to do this. Here, you do it for me, right? Okay. So over the course of time, what happened, we're starting to go full circle again. The economic downturn saw a lot more group classes being spawned because people didn't want to give up their dogs, but they basically needed to have some help. So they went back to group training. At that point in time, and that was just 10 years ago, right? 2009, 2008, 2009. So at that point in time, the cheapest classes were through whom?
PetSmart.
There you go. Right? So at the time, and this is specific to my area. Everyone else might want to look into their area if you can get people that will actually give up the numbers. I like statistics. I like them because you can parse them any way you want, but if you look between the lines, there's a lot of really revealing information about statistics. Yes. There was a spike. Yep. There was a spike, not in owner surrenders, okay, but in euthanasias. Because after that, a lot of times these dogs were not being trained, so owners got frustrated. And instead of finding a trainer that would help them, they basically just had the dog euthanized, right?
Breaks my heart.
It does. It's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. And it became convenient, and I see this all the time. It became convenient to start counseling owners to euthanize the dog as opposed to train the dog. And wow. Petco and PetSmart and all these box store type training outfits, and a lot of these posse people, I mean, I'm right in the middle of Posse Central. I have people to the west of me and people like within 4 miles of my property that do nothing but clickers and treats and what have you, and that's all fine. But the thing is, though, is when you tell an owner that they should put their dog down instead of actually working with the dog, that's a failure. That's a failure to that person.
It's going to haunt you, especially if you stay in this industry and you start to get to the other side of that curve of learning of what do they call that? I'll figure out what it's called. The Schrodinger effect. But whatever. I want you to mention. Can you tell me about Tom Davis, America's Canine Educator?
Jesus Christ. He's some asshat up in New York. Chris Fraze, actually, I had never heard of the guy. Chris Fraze had someone gave him a tip. Someone gave him a tip about this guy and showed a video. I think the very first video I saw of him was, I think, like maybe June or July. And it was he was working with this German Shepherd that had a muzzle on, an e-collar, a prong collar, a buckle collar, a chain collar. I mean, this dog had like every freaking thing on the face of the planet that you could possibly have on a dog around his neck or on his face. And it was just all this false dichotomy that this dog was dangerous. Well, this guy's yanking and cranking on the dog, and the dog's getting, my mentor, I swear to God, April can't happen fast enough, dude. I'm going to kick your ass. He was just a basket case. I mean, the guy's an idiot. And he's like cranking on this dog and, he's such a vicious dog and he's aggressive and he's this and that. And basically he was lighting the dog up, right? Thanks, Chris. He was actually lighting this poor dog up and making this big show about how unaggressive this dog really was, right?
Yeah. And the dog was petrified, and he was petrified of the dog, Cindy says. And that's it, man. I think a lot of this is fear-based. It's like, oh my
almost
God,
all of it is. When was the last time? When was the last time?
On the dog side is the behavior, the reactivity is fear-based, but on the human side, with these trainers, when they don't know, man, they bring that hammer sometimes. And
yeah. When was the last time you saw an offensively aggressive dog?
Geez, let me think. I had a cane corso that was that scared me about a year and a half ago. Before that, it was 95% fearful.
Sure.
And then and there was a couple with a couple wires crossed in there too. As well. Like, this is just not normal.
The basic percentage of all the dogs that you have trained to date, how many of them are offensively aggressive? What percentage?
Oh, geez. 1%, 2%.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. And George Cockrell, I don't know if he's still here or not, but basically it's the same thing. I have trained dogs in, I think, like 11 different states now. Arizona, Ohio, Rhode Island, Maryland, Pennsylvania, all these different places that I've lived, right? Connecticut. But I can honestly count and have remaining digits on two hands the number of people I've counseled for euthanasia. Okay? In
actually, I just
40 professional years.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
In 40 professional years, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking less than 10 dogs. And these were bad dogs, right? Everyone, and Dave and I have this conversation a lot because there's a lot of trainers out there who are like, every dog we touch is the most vicious animal on the face of the planet. And I'm like, look, honey, I'm a fat old broad, and I know that's bullshit. Okay? And it's like you can make dogs look aggressive, right? But it's not really, it happens, and I'm actually starting to see it happen more frequently because people treat their dogs like babies, and the dog is entitled to we had a woman today that came for an eval. Her primary complaint was the dog likes it when she can carry our hands in her mouth, right? Yeah, so I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Let's pop her up on the table. So my husband popped her up on the table, and I'm going to just reach to pet her, to stroke her along the side. No, above the eyes type crap. None of that bullshit. Just a nice side stroke along the side of the face. She reached around and grabbed me by the wrist. I said, this is not your dog wanting to hold your hand in her mouth. This is your dog telling you, get the hell off me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so the disconnect, right? And this 2-year-old dog, she's a lab mix. The likelihood is unchecked, she's going to go south pretty quick. And she's not a bad dog. There's no malice there. And then the woman told me that her previous owner used to slap the snot out of her. Well, now you know. Duh. So stop doing that. Stop putting your hands over her eyes. Have her calm herself and then approach her. Create that social contract. And then pet the dog so that she realizes that not everything. Exactly. Everything is not a freaking conflict. And I see these people, newer trainers who do this, or push. And it's like, I'm all about dissipating conflict, right? I don't like creating conflict. I will meet you where you are.
Don't?
No,
are you sure?
I don't.
Are you, okay.
I'll brawl with anybody, but I'm not going to brawl with a dog, right? I've been down that road, and I don't like to bleed, right? At one point in time, I actually did care about my looks. I do now, but not as much as I did when I was 30, right? But I have scars, and I don't like them. I think they're unsightly, right? Yeah. I don't particularly think that getting bit a lot is a badge of honor. I don't. I understand the risk associated with handling dangerous dogs, and this is me at this age, in this physical condition, no longer handling dangerous dogs. I know my limitations, right? So I'm not necessarily going to push that down the road, but I will be more than happy to work the client through that problem on their own.
Yeah.
Right? So we don't take them in board and trains anymore. We only take them as private clients. But I mean, you're still successfully rehabilitating the owner's perception, right?
Just cares about
Yeah,
your looks.
I care about your looks too, sweetheart. I think we're a
Josh
perfect
says
couple.
you're a beautiful, delicate flower.
I
So
am.
you know.
Yeah.
People are
okay.
loving the social contract analogy, and that is it. And people ask me whenever I get these crazy dogs, what am I going to do for the first? And I'm like, I'm going to get to know the dog. I'm just kicking it with this dog.
Exactly.
I'm just see what this dog is all about. And the dog is like, help me, or it's a lot of times it's just like,
Yeah.
dude, okay, who are you? Okay,
Exactly.
you're cool. Okay, now who is that? And it's like you develop a relationship, and I tell people, just like in marketing and in relationships with human, rapport is power, and you have to develop that rapport.
Yep.
What you refer to as that social contract is like, do you agree to allow me to show you this, right? And
Yep.
And especially when we don't know this dog, and they've been shown a whole lifetime of possible, what they believe is possible, or a whole lifetime of just stuff, of a relationship that isn't congruent necessarily with their intrinsic desire to exist in this world, and then we come along to interrupt that a little bit. Might as well have a good relationship to start.
You have to
build on that, right?
You have to. And I tell people, mechanics is what actually the physical, the mechanics of motion, right? Physics, basically.
Trust. It boils down to trust. That's
exactly.
Right. But
physics trains dogs. Physics trains the motions, and the relationship is what holds that together. And the Chris and Dylan with that Jack dog, I remember seeing that video, and I'm like, that dog is just bad from go. It's not like I give them a lot of credit because they do handle a fairly large number of dogs that like to, as Chris says, eat people's spleens. I've lost my stomach for it. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. I had an issue not too long ago with a dog that I thought was going to kill me. And that was before, all this stuff happened a couple of years ago. But basically, I got to the point where it's like, do I really need to do this shit anymore? And at the time, I had a couple of people who were working for me, and I was working them through a problem. I train a lot of defensive handling skills. I train a lot of defensive handling skills, mostly to women, but to some men as well. And it's important to understand, first of all, one of the things that really bothers me about newer trainers is they don't stay in their lane. You cannot reach beyond your grasp. And in a situation where you're working with a dicey dog, you better have your wits and your shit about you. Otherwise, you're going to get killed. Right?
Yeah, or hurt very badly.
Very badly. And I know
lifelong maiming, like this shit, like these dogs are no joke.
They're not a joke. And an animal that's like 35 or 40 pounds, if you're not fast enough, that dog can kill you. Right?
Yeah. Or
they move a lot faster.
The nuances of the behavior that are going to predict an attack, and you set yourself up, and that dog for failure.
And it's like, I want these people to understand it's nothing personal. Hi, Adrian. It's nothing personal. It isn't. It's not that I hate you. It's not that I'm jealous of you. It's not any of that stuff. I fear for you. I really fear for you, because if you're going into these things thinking that you can conquer the world, you're going to get your ass handed to you. Trust me.
Yeah.
I know.
And working at dangerous dogs is exhausting, and not just exhausting physically, but mentally too, man, because you have to keep your wits about you when you're working with this animal at all times. Otherwise, it can bite you, literally bite you.
My husband and I made the command decision about 5 years ago that we were no longer going to handle dangerous dogs in a boarding and training environment. Since that time, we've still handled a fair number. Out of the dogs that come that are special, right? They're not really badasses. They're pretend badasses. They're wannabe badasses. We've had 3 or 4 that have come through that have been real badasses. And
Okay.
it's eye-opening. It really is. And it's like, and I tell owners this. They're like, well, why won't you
Yes, they
take the
will.
dog? Because I didn't cause the problem. You did. So if you're not going to be part of the
I love
solution,
that.
you're going to remain the problem. And we had, just before we closed the warehouse this last year, this last May, we had several dogs, several Rottweilers, a Cane Corso, and some other a Great Dane. We had like 5. They all came in roughly the same time. And it was weeks to get these owners to understand the role that they played in the dog's behavior. Weeks. And I had this one gal, and I love this woman to death. I really do. Her name is Taryn. She had Tiny, very athletic. She was probably maybe a $1.15, $1.20, soaking wet with rocks in her pockets. This dog was this ginormous Rottweiler. What was that dog's name? Some badass name. People get these big ass dogs and
Felony.
they name Ruger
Felony
and what?
or
Yeah, Felony, exactly. And he outweighed her by a good 30 pounds.
Okay.
My warehouse, from the retainer wall to the front wall,
Take care,
was.
Chris. Chris says, "Got to drive home. Be careful going home, brother."
Mwah, love you, Chris. We'll
We
talk.
love you, dude.
Walk this woman on his hind legs all the way back up to the retainer wall, right? In her face, growling at her like, I'm going to kill you if you do that again. And the reason he was angry with her was because she was being incredibly unfair to him. And she was pissed. She was angry. She was scared. She didn't know what to do. And I said, first of all, what you're going to do first is stop moving. Second of all, what you're going to do is you're going to relax. And she's like, I can't relax. He's going to kill me. And I'm like, no, he's not. Because if he was going to kill you, he'd have done it by now.
Yeah.
Right? And she's like, well, what would you have done? I said, pulled him off you. But the bottom line is you created that environment. Now tell me what you did. Because she was just jackhammering this dog. I was just pounding the hell out of him with a leash. And I'm like, okay. I told you not to do that. I told you not to do that.
Yeah.
And when it finally occurred to her that she was the cause of the problem, that dog straightened up. It took us about 3 months to do it, but he straightened up. The last behavior he offered before we said our adieus was he came over and actually dropped that big-ass bucket head in my lap and was like, would you pet me now? I'm like, awesome. Yeah, no. See you later. Yeah, right? Because I don't interact with other people's dogs. That's the other thing that infuriates me. I don't need to fucking fondle someone else's animal.
Yeah.
Right? And Gretchen's
they get offended. They're like, hey, what do you think? And I'm like, that's a beautiful dog. Don't you want to pet him, say hi?
No.
I'm like, no, I'm good.
I don't. I don't want to be sexually assaulted. I don't want someone groping me when I walk down the street. I don't want some freaking stranger walking up to me and grabbing my ass, right? Gretchen's Verline, she was out at the shop one day. This is quite a few years ago. And there was 2 gals that had Xolo. I'm not going to say the Xolo, right? The hairless dogs from Mexico. 2 of them. And this woman literally chased Gretchen across my warehouse and said, don't you want to pet my dog? Kept on, literally, you got to feel him. You have to feel him. You need to feel him. You really want to pet my dog? And Gretchen's like, no, lady, I don't. I don't want to pet your dog. Yeah, I really don't want to pet your dog. And I'm like, leave the poor girl alone. She doesn't want to pet your goddamn dog. And I'm like, they're cool to look at. They're neat to touch. But, the young male dog was like, hey, how you doing? I'm a young male. And
I bet you fondle Epi.
Oh, yeah. I did fondle her, David. Thank you very much, but very briefly. But the older male that they had, he was he was a retired champion, was like, don't touch me.
Right.
Just don't touch me. This dog's whole demeanor was, if you come any closer to me, I swear to God, I'm going to tag you. And this woman is just driving this dog towards Gretchen saying, pet my dog, pet him now. And I'm like, yeah, no, don't do that. Right? I just had an episode with one of my dogs, Pearl, my beloved Pearl. The other day, we had 2 guys come that were clearing some debris so that we can build a building here. And the young guy did all the right things. His body language was very clear. Pearl walked up to him. Hey, scratch my ass. Now we're married. And then the older guy tried to do it. And she's like, if you touch me, I'm going to tag you. Because he's looming over her. He's grabbing for her. And I'm like, yeah, you can't do that. And he's like, well, he just did it. And I said, no, he didn't. He didn't do anything similar to what you just did to that dog. So I called her up and I sent her back into the garage, and he's like, well, I want to pet her too. And I'm like, you can't. She doesn't want you to pet her. She told you very clearly, if you touch her, she's going to tag you. And he had absolutely no clue whatsoever. And I'm
can't believe that's an entitlement. I mean, people think they're entitled to pet your dogs, and you can see it, dude. I've walked with this English sheepdog, and especially if you got a unique breed or something, people are like, oh
yeah.
my God. And then they come walking up to you and they're like, hi. And then I've even had people be like, can I pet your dog? And I'm like, no. And they're petting the dang dog. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I just said no, and it's just.
That's where I get aggressive. That's when Sherman Tank Linda comes out, and nobody wants that bitch.
I mean, what do you do? Like, I just said no, and what are you doing petting my dog?
I will step in between you, and I will plant my fist in your chest.
Okay,
and I've done it.
There you go.
I've done it. I was working a dog years ago. I was working a dog named Jack in a mall that's close by. He was a service dog, and we were getting ready for him to do his public access test. And we were working in a lounge area in the mall. And the young man who the dog was intended for and his parents were there. This gentleman was almost a quad. He had some limited use, we were teaching communication skills with the dog at a distance, and we were using a laser. And the parents were standing by, watching, from a relatively safe distance, so they weren't interfering with the process. And this stupid, dumb, retarded, whatever, I don't freaking care. I'm really not in the mood for politically correct with this individual at this point. She comes walking over and she starts chipping pieces of her Chick-fil-A sandwich at Jack's feet. And Jack's a youngster. He's about 18 months old, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And he's going, he's looking at me. He's looking at his owner. He's looking at this food. And he's going, man, this shit's killing me. So I picked up the food. I took it back over. I handed it to her, and I said, don't do that again. I went back to work. And then Chris's mom, this boy's mom, walked over to her and trying to explain to her what she was doing. She's like, well, if the dog had any training, then he should be able to ignore this. And I'm like, well, honey, the dog's got a lot of training, but I don't. So She started throwing it again. I picked it up. I walked over to her, and from a distance of about 2 feet away, I flung it right in her face. And I said, if you do it again, I'm going to drop you. So she's like, well, that's harassment. That's assault, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go call it. And I said, okay, fine. They escorted her off the property.
Okay, good.
Okay. And I'm like, there's a park up the road from us, 8 Mile up the road. I used to take the dogs to train there. And I actually was instrumental in getting them to remove the no dogs allowed signs. Right. And I was very proud of that. We hadn't been there in quite a while. We were in the process of signing the lease for the warehouse, and all this other stuff was going on. So I took a pack of dogs up there one day, and we started working. And this woman basically had this dog off leash. This dog bum rushes me with my lab Joe as we're getting out of the truck. And I had to do the whole, I had to kind of pass my Labrador back to my husband in a big fat hurry, and with a correction that my poor dog didn't deserve, because I had to act so fast. And then I attacked the dog. I attacked the dog, and I became very offensive with the dog. And the woman's like, what are you doing? I said, what are you doing? I go, the dog came at me. The dog went to attack my dog. So I got a citation. She complained to the police up in Tawny Town, and I got a citation. And I had to go up there, and I said, let me explain something to you. It's me. I'm the one in the public service announcement. I'm the one that's in the video that you all watched at your town hall meeting. That was me. That bitch was breaking the law, not me. I was defending myself. I was defending my dog. I was defending my husband. Okay? So they dismissed it. It wasn't a problem. But I was the one that was being harassed for that. That's untenable to me. So I have gotten very aggressive with people if they're like, Zvi, when he was a very young dog, I had a group class at Petco and PetSmart, Petco. I think it was Petco. So we had, I had the people go in. I said, just do me a favor, buy something, buy some cookies, whatever. Just work your dogs and, buy something and come out. So I was walking through the store with Vi, and I was actually going to buy some things. And one of the assistant managers came in and literally starts accosting my dog. And I'm like, don't do that. And she's like, why? And I said, because he's my dog. He's not public property. Don't touch him. He was freaked out, right? Here's a young dog right in the middle of an adolescent imprint period, and this woman just rolls across, 25, 30 feet of space and just is like, oh, look at the puppy, and I'm like, get away from my freaking dog. He's losing his mind. And I'm like, it takes time for them to recover from that. And I'm like, you can't do that. That's not appropriate behavior. I got banned from that store. I got told that I wasn't allowed to go there. I was told at the PetSmart, I'm not allowed to wear my colors in their store. I'm not allowed to wear anything that says Lionheart Canine on it. Are you kidding me? Come on now. Okay, I'm going to make sure I tell every client from the area to never shop at your store.
Well, that's also, it's a politically correct place that people go for the dog training. It's something that I've gone into the PetSmarts and I've told them, hey, look, any dogs that you can't help, send to me.
Yeah, they send them up the road to this chick Marta Corsi at My Canine Buddy, which is all positive, whatever. That's
really?
Fine. My thing, they send the bad ones to me out the back door, right?
Yeah,
but they'll never refer to me out the front door. And that's the way it's been. It's like I have nothing, there's enough room for everybody. And this is the one thing that pisses me off about newer trainers also. They feel so threatened. It's like, honey, I've been here for a long, long time. When you can do what I can do and I'm ready to be replaced, then you can be more, feel free to take over, right? It's not going, they're in Maryland. And I ask every trainer to do this. There are statistics that are available. You can go through the your state's Veterinary Medical Board to find out all of the dogs that are registered through rabies, which have to be issued by a veterinarian in your state. You can actually get statistics, how many dogs are registered in your state, okay? Double that, usually, because that doesn't account for the unregistered dogs, or the unlicensed dogs, okay? So then you figure in Maryland, which is a state of roughly 6 million people, there's over 2 million dogs, okay? There's maybe, 30 or 40 trainers for the state?
Yeah.
And there's only 6 of us that are full-time. Do the math. There is enough work for everybody. I am not threatened by anybody. And the thing is basically a state like California, how many people are in Los Angeles?
Oh, geez, I don't even know.
How many dogs are in Los Angeles?
12 million. Let me see. Right? Los Angeles population. Let's find out. I have this push button thing that I can type in. Los Angeles
a computer?
Yeah. And it gives me a good, like Google.
Yeah.
Population 2019. Let's see here. 4 million people.
That's just LA. That's just LA, right?
Not the surrounding area.
Okay. So you figure probably at least 25% to 30% of that population owns at least one dog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you divide that by the number of trainers that advertise. Okay. How many dogs a year do you do, Bill?
Oh, geez, 200 maybe. But like dogs that I'll
total.
Oh, yeah.
Total. Group classes, private training, board and trains, total.
200, 250.
Okay, so before we left the warehouse, that's about what we were doing too. Okay. Do you know how many I'm going to finish this year with?
How many?
Probably about 75.
Okay.
You know what? You can clearly see I'm eating well.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not starving for money. There's enough work for everybody. There's a niche for everybody. What I absolutely wish is that I'd stop getting the bad dogs. Right?
I love it when I get the dogs that I tell people that, dude, especially when they call me as a puppy. I'm just like, I love you. Or if they call me before they get the puppy.
Yeah.
And I do some matchmaking.
I'm starting to get more of those now. I have people calling me and saying, I'm getting a puppy. Right. And it's like,
I love that. If you're getting a puppy, call a pro. They know stuff that's going to help you select the right dog. Why do you think it's important that pros work with people?
Exactly. And I think I thank a lot of the vets in the area for sending me puppies. I wish they would just stop sending me the dogs that they can't handle, because I'm like, dude, if you can't handle them, what makes you think I can't? Right. And it's
Well, and
like
the
the training.
hills and
Yeah,
pills. That's what I say, man.
right.
It's like look into the the history of this dog, and look at the big picture of diet, exercise, interaction, all that
Exactly.
stuff.
And it's like it's getting difficult. It's I mean, I have and I think every trainer, and I'm reluctant to use the word balance. It's not a phrase that I'm fond of. For lack of a better term, that's what I'm going to have to go with until I select a better one. None of the vets in this area appreciate any form of balance, right? They don't understand that things have to occur. That aren't, and we what we open this conversation with being uncomfortable. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not about pain, it's not about terror, it's about being moderately displaced emotionally, mentally, or physically. That's it.
Yeah.
So when they make referrals, they'll go to the positive only people first, and then when they fuck up the dog, then I get it. By that time it's a couple years old and it's got a bite history, right?
Yeah.
So I'm finally, and the thing is, though, is, and my whole thing as I've started to age, and probably for the last like 10 years, is focusing on puppies. I have done a lot of research on puppies, and I dare say I'm kind of, and I don't want to say this and sound pompous because I know how certain people hate this term. I'm a specialist in puppies. I know a lot about puppies. I know a lot about behavioral benchmarks. I know how to extract things that you're not seeing and should be seeing. I know how to exploit things that you are seeing that you want to see more of. I know how to do these things. And I would love to do nothing but puppies, but that's not what we get, right?
Right.
So in a situation where you're faced with the kinds of decisions that these people put on you, I can't remember quite where I was going with this, but the two things that come immediately to mind is introduce yourself to the veterinarians in your neighborhood with the work that you do, not with yourself, right? Don't walk in and say
let
hi.
your dogs be
Do
your
the
proof.
talking. Exactly.
Do a
Exactly.
Stanford exam. That's what I tell.
Yep.
I was like, wait till your vet sees this. Wait till
Exactly.
you walk into the vets and you walk up, you give the stand command and you step away and you're like, go ahead. And
Yep.
that vet is and make sure you tell them about the handsome man, Bow Wow Bill, who.
There you go. With that smoking cinnamon beard, baby. Right. And the other thing is in a situation, it's like, when it comes to your calling card, and I know, and this is going to piss off quite a fairly high number of people too. Your dog, your personal dog, is your calling card, right? So if your dog's an ass, it's a safe bet that your vet's going to hate you. If your dog's not an ass, your vet's going to say, "Oh, hey, so how do people get in touch with you?" Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, I'm looking at you. No, you're not an ass. I promise. Pearl, she has confidence issues.
Does she?
Okay, she lost
Pearl.
She lost a tooth, and now she's like, yeah, she's waiting for my husband to cook dinner. She is. When she had her multiple small surgeries this summer, we had to extract a tooth because God knows how she broke it and it had to come out. But she's she's a lovely dog.
Issues too,
Exactly. Well,
Adrian says, so I don't patronize any vets in my area. How do you go about that?
Hunt for them. Here's the thing about vets, and I love a good vet. I hate a bad one, and we're surrounded by a lot more bad ones than good ones. This is what I tell people: your veterinarian is your employee; he's not your employer. You interview them just like you do your own physician. Okay, so you go in and you set up an appointment, expect to spend some money, take some time with them, and say, "Hi, my name is whomever. I understand that we're going to be compatriots, and this is what I do," and sit there and talk. I had a vet actually call me one day out of the blue and said, I want to interview you so that we know whether or not we're going to refer people to you. And I said, honey, if I depended on vets for my income, I would have died long ago from starvation. I don't need to interview you, right? I don't need for you to interview me. I need to interview you. And I went up there, and basically it was just ridiculous. And these are one of the people. They're right up the road from me, Antrim Animal Hospital. They're right up the road.
George just popped in. He says, "Hey, sister, got a quick few between dogs." So he's tuning in right now.
Love you, sweetie. But same thing. She's like, well, we take all the puppies because we do positive reinforcement. And I'm like, honey, what makes you think I don't?
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, so that everything that they refer to me is dangerous.
Yeah.
It's already bitten or it's going to bite, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is don't wait until it's too bad, right? Send the dog to me before it gets that bad. Well, you use choke collars and you use shock collars and you use pinch collars. And I'm like, honey, not on every dog.
Yeah.
And the thing is like half the time I don't even use it. I mean, I just bought an e-collar for a gal because she has some physical acuity issues, and she's going to need something to be able to control this dog, right?
Yeah.
First e-collar I purchased, I think, in probably 6 months.
Okay.
Right? And it's like, don't even get me started on that shit. But basically, it's like, the thing is, though, is it's not about the tool, it's about the work you're doing.
Yeah.
It's about the interaction with the dog.
That's what Chris was talking about, is like, look, that dog respects the tool. He doesn't respect the person that's using the tool. And that's where the important work needs to be done, is to build that respect. And it's just like when my dad was told me, I expected more out of you, son. I'm a little disappointed.
Oh, damn.
That's where it hit me. It wasn't about going crazy and being, intimidating or anything. It was that relationship that I had, and that's a relationship you want to recreate, one that is based out of respect.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I feel you, bud, because my dad wanted me to go to vet school, and I'm like, you know what? Nope. The only thing, and I mean, I probably should have, because I would like to have think that with my bitch attitude, I would have been able to influence that field to some degree.
That call me and they're like, hey man, I got this dog that's doing this weird behavior, and I'm just like, thanks, dude. I love it when you call me. And they're like, and it's just great. And not only that, but I take my client dogs, like if I have dogs staying with me, especially as they get older, I mean, stuff pops up, they get a UTI. We had a dog, the pink pea. It's like, okay, cool, this dog's got something going on, we need to get it checked out, because it's definitely leading and influencing behavior, just like when Pearl got her tooth removed. Do you feel good when you have a hurt tooth? Do you, I remember, I work with a few celebrities, and one of my good friends is Action Bronson, who's a hip hop artist. He's wonderful. I've been on his show, and I asked him this. I was like, bro, have you ever had pain influence your behavior? Have you ever been in pain and act differently? And he said, bro, I threw a bowl of cereal at my mom when my leg was broken, and he loves his mom, and I was just like, see, I was like, that's it. It's just know, that the whole picture, and take it into effect. But, the bad vets, I mean, unfortunately, it's a big money thing, man. And I had a vet, I think, really draw out a chemotherapy session with this dog that should have really
ended a long time ago.
Ended a long time ago, and that dog told me, and I was just like, look, this, and I was honest with the owners, and it's just so hard. I use out here, I'm out in the country here, I use all creatures veterinary service here, Dr. Jackie, and I have an old school doc that I really love, that just is no nonsense. Lucky I had a vet when I lived in North Austin, about an hour 15, got a lot of business from them over the last several years, but where I am now, I just don't see anything like the clinics here, or small rural town outside. The good vets are open-minded, make it easy for you. I just clicked right away with several local vets in the area. We make their job easier in the end, and that's
absolutely.
it.
Yep,
in
absolutely.
The end, you make their job easier.
We have 14 vets between the top of 795 and 8 miles north of me, right? 14 different clinics. There's probably, I think, 28 to 35 different clinicians in 14 different practices, 14 brick and mortar vet clinics. I am always at odds with one, if not all of them, at any one time. It's like I said earlier, they don't refer to me out the front door, but they refer to me out the back door. So I just make sure that I supply them with a nice variety of dogs who know all of the veterinary grips, who know how to have their nails done, who know how to have their ears and genitalia and teeth and all of these things, inspected. And it's like, same thing is, I won't allow my dogs to leave my site. I'm like, I'll hold them off. Well, we don't permit that. Well, then I'll just take my money and go elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to leave
because
my dog. Yeah,
I'm not having you take my dog and hog tie it and muzzle it and sedate it when it doesn't need it. Sit, stay, let me see. I mean, I used to draw blood off my own dogs,
yeah,
right? Tie them off and do it myself. And I've done that
absolutely.
with virtually every dog I've had, but now they're making it increasingly difficult. This is the other thing. Whoops. This is the other thing I want newer trainers to do. Your state has a veterinary medical board, and your state has animal laws. I want you to become familiar with both of those institutions so that you know what your rights are, because they are being eroded and you are being deluded into believing that you have less rights than you actively do. I want anyone on that's still listening, right? I want you to tell me if you know whether or not what medical services you can render to your own dog without a veterinarian care, without a
Hmm.
veterinarian oversight. Does anybody know that?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay. In the state of
I,
Maryland,
I,
go ahead.
I render quite a few though. I mean,
Right. In the state of Maryland,
even euthanasia. Like I've even thought, like because my dog was suffering so bad, I was like, I stayed up all night with him, and if I could have euthanized him, I would have. And
sure,
that was the one thing. I was like, could I get some euthanol? Could I get a tranquilizer? Because I've seen it done so many times. Like I
sure.
can, I can do it. I know I could.
Yep. Here's the thing. In the state of Maryland, the only thing I'm not allowed to do is administer a rabies certificate or anesthesia. That's it. I can give a rabies shot. I just can't write a certificate. And if I wanted to practice vivisection on my dog on my kitchen table, I could do that too, just as long
Wow.
as I don't render anesthesia. Okay? Now, it's quite possible that those laws have changed, but I doubt it. This is the reason why I doubt it, because it has to go through the whole legislative channels in order for it to be rendered into law in March when the session isn't, when our whatever the hell you call it, when our
The session's
state
in
house,
order or whatever.
yeah, when
Yeah,
the state house is in
legislators are
session,
there.
right?
Yeah,
Legislation's in session. So this is the other thing that people need to do is you need to get in touch with whatever legislative body is going to listen to your stank ass when shit comes down, because it's coming. So if you don't have a connection, you need to figure out how to introduce yourself to the Congress people, the Congress things and the Senate things that govern your state, right? Find out who your district person is and introduce yourself and see if you can, takes a couple of minutes to write an email, introduce
yeah,
yourself and put yourself out there as, the resident pro, right? To get in there and figure out exactly when these things are coming. Get on that legislative mailing list. Every state has one. So that way you get the alerts and you can plug in your keywords just like you do Google News. I know all of you are out there Googling your own damn names. So put in that, right? Search for dog legislation in your state. Every state has these websites that enable you to be able to do that. So that way you're apprised of the stuff that comes up and you can
yeah,
aggressively fight it.
yeah. Well, and
It's
fight it
important.
with the truth, and that's what it is.
Exactly.
Is that people are playing, or just like we said at the beginning here, with about the people that you please are going to tell one people, but the people that you get uncomfortable and piss off are going to tell, infinite amount, because they're, we're 10 times more likely to act based on emotion than we are on pure
Yep.
logic, and that's where the marketing companies of these big Fortune 500 companies or the marketing division of the companies are spending billions of dollars to get you to view their product in an emotional
Yep.
light, because
It's all about the
you're going to
feels.
act on that.
Yep.
Right. And so these people are going to act, and they're going to act on the legislation that feels good,
Yep.
but not
That resonates
knowing
with
that.
them on an emotional level. Yep.
That's right. But not realizing the detriment that they're doing to the ability to build relationships or build good
Yep.
communication skills,
Yep.
being
That's exactly
proactive
right.
instead of reactive. That's right. Being in there in the beginning, be like, nope, this is what
Yep.
it is. And
You
let me
can't
show
get
you my
through.
track record.
That's exactly right. And I am the gatekeeper for that stuff, because and it's like I'm a brawler. I've been a brawler my entire life. And Cap Haggerty, for those of you who don't know, Captain Arthur Haggerty, dog trainer, probably one of the first dog trainers that actually.
Met him.
I never met him in person, but I've spoken to him several times on the phone over the years before he passed. But he basically, his big thing was there's no such thing as bad press except an obituary. And it's true. And earlier when we were talking, it's like, I have no problems. I will not bring the fight to you, but I will end the fight with you. And in a situation where, I mean, our livelihoods are precariously on the edge of being extinguished, and this is not bullshit, okay? I was told years ago that what I do for a living would basically become outlawed, and it's coming to pass. It really is. We're being legislated out of existence, and in a situation where something like that hits so close and so personal, I'm going to make a point of being part of the action, because that's just not leaving me behind until I'm cold and dead. And I don't care how many people like me. All I care about is how many people have heard what I had to say. You don't like it? Like I said, tell an army. Did you hear that horrible Linda Kaim woman? Oh, my God. Blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, thank you for passing that information around, honey, because someone's going to be curious enough to say, hey, is it true that you said that, or whatever? And the only thing we want as a trade, right, wherever you fall on the e-collar, prong collar, balance, not balance, so walking a tightrope, whatever, if we don't unite, if we do not unify, we are going to be overrun.
That's right. Well, I mean, divide and conquer, you know?
Exactly.
And Adrian just wants to know, is there anything, talk about ways that we can protect ourselves proactively?
Protect ourselves from legislation or protect ourselves from biting dogs? One I can tell you about, the other one I got to show you.
Yeah. Well, which one can you tell?
Well, as far as protecting ourselves legislatively, we have to be on the forefront. We can no longer sit down and expect someone else to do this work for us. We can't. We have to be the face. Every individual has to be the face. Because if you're not the face, you're going to be the ass at the end of the trail. And that's all there is to it. And the thing is, though, is we're not talking about, and this, I hear this all the time, and it's like I'm not going to go into this discussion now or ever. But organizationally, it's the APDT outranks IACP, NADOI, all of them. The IA International Association of Applied Animal Behaviorists, all these people, okay? They have huge numbers, right? That horrible, what's that other organization? I can't remember. That started by that Tudge, Nikki Tudge, and Ann Springer and all them.
Okay. I don't know what
PP something, right? Figures, those are the letters. But anyways, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry, but they're horrible. They're horrible people. You know, they say terrible things about people all under the guise of all for the animals. Well, that's bullshit. Right?
Isn't it funny how the most salacious attacks on people happen to these positive? And I'm like, how
interesting, isn't it?
Is that?
Yeah.
And they're like, I'll knock his head off. And I'm just like, well, isn't that positive, or isn't that's been legislated against already? I'm sure
that's threatening violence. Yeah,
you're right, exactly. And it's just, to me, PPG. That's what Sam.
That's it. Yeah,
Sam Sabar says.
PPG. Yep. Yeah, and it's all a bunch of sexually repressed women who wish that their lives had gone differently. Every fucking one of them. There, I said it out loud. Okay, but here's the thing. The only way, because there's more people who are not members of the IACP, and there are more members, the IACP, NADOI, and all these people, there's more people who are not members than are members. We have got to decide for ourselves what we are willing to sacrifice for our own happiness. And I'm sorry, but I'm not letting someone else dictate my life. Okay? Yeah. And here's the thing, and this is one of the things legislatively, there's not a lot that any of these people can do, because the rules are being written by the victors. And right now that's the APDT and the PPG and all these people who want to govern what it is that we do.
Chris is back. He's home now.
Hey, I love you,
Welcome.
Chris. This is what I want to tell people. This is what I want to tell people. This is how you defend yourself legislatively. Stop making this shit about tools, you dummies. Stop it. It's not about tools. It's about results. When we sit down and figure out exactly how you measure the standard that indicates the difference between trained and untrained, then you're going to see change. It has nothing to do with what you have in your hand or around the dog's neck. It really doesn't. It has everything to do with your success in being able to provide a standard that is measurable. Can the dog sit? Will the dog sit in traffic?
Standards.
Standards, exactly.
Standards.
And people and Bill, I don't know where you came in on the timeline as far as all of these different dog groups, which I left probably about 2015, 2016.
I have never, and I don't know who I'm going to make mad at this. I've never been a member of any of them. I've been to the ICP conferences many times. I think I've been to 10 of them altogether. So I've been, but it's a networking opportunity for me. And I love the ICP. But I'm not a member. I'm not a member of any organization. I'm a lone wolf. I kind of do my own thing. I learn from anybody that I can. And I
that's
apply
important.
the teachings, right?
That's important, because here's the thing. I mean, I have been kicked off a bunch of lists. I have basically abandoned all hope on a bunch of lists. But the bottom line is when I have some young whippersnapper, neckbeard motherfucker coming to me and saying, well, you can't train a reliable recall without an e-collar. I'm like, bitch, please.
Yeah, please.
I'm like, what did I don't know. I didn't start coming, Freddie Hassan didn't start coming around with the e-collars until sometime in the 90s, right? I can't remember what I did before that. Oh, yeah, I do. I train the fucking dog. Okay? It has nothing to do with the equipment the dog wears. It has everything to do with your practical application of how to train the skills.
Relationship, and then we work on the distance, distraction, duration, location,
You never put a dog in front of something it's not ready for.
That's right.
You never do, right?
And you have to have a way to find out if that dog's ready. You have to have a readiness, test to say, hey, look, is this dog ready for this? Or do we still need to work on, in the dog at the end of your leash? Yep. Every dog's an individual. Just
Tony
like we're all individuals.
Tony Anchetta, reliable dog test. Here is a standard with which nobody is willing to try and meet because it's too fucking hard. They don't want to put forth the effort. It's easier to slap an e-collar on a dog and have him reliable on that device for the end of time. It's not acceptable.
I mean, look at all these buttons. We push a button all day long to gain the information. They just want a button to push, for that.
That's the same with cancer too, Chris. You're right. There's more money in the misery than there is in the cure. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's where we're headed. So here's the thing. Abandon your tools, people. It's not about your choke collar or your prong collar or your e-collar. It's about, can you train the dog? Can you train the dog without those things? If yes, proceed past go. If not, go back to school.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is connecting with that dog and, but also knowing what standards. And I was telling Chris earlier, like these standards are checkpoints in the relationship. They're telling you where you're at and where you need to go.
Yep. And here's the thing.
Standards frighten me, he says.
Yep. Beginner novice, rally, your rally novice. These funsy things that people do with their dogs are great. They're not standards. They're not. Okay. What Cindy does with her dogs are standards because these dogs have achieved much higher levels, right? So they're going, they're on a more of a national stage, and they win, right? Yeah. But Cindy Duan and my other friend Cindy, who, God, I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart here because I'm tired and I haven't had enough water. But basically, it's the same thing. You're talking about opening utility and AKC obedience, okay? And this is the argument that I get from people. Well, those dogs are insufferable out of the ring. Okay, so fine. Make sure your dog's not insufferable out of the ring. Because you know what the obedience trials were originally designed for? To demonstrate what you were capable of doing with your dog at home. At home. The obedience trials didn't start. They ended the work you did elsewhere. They were to showcase your ability to control your dog under a variety of different circumstances. And people have this tendency to think, well, the dogs are just being trained for the show ring. They are now because it's all clicky and treaty. right? It's all tricks.
People
I
see my
want you.
dog who is novice obedience trained. And that's it. I've just really done it up to novice, and they think he's a service dog. I mean,
Yeah.
they ask him all the time, is that a service dog? And I'm like,
Shocking,
what
isn't
is
it?
he going to do for me? He's 14 pounds, you know, but I'll be like, Ash, heel, boom, right to my left leg.
Kind of left last.
You know, I'll you know, do
Thank
the, you know, the just the basic standards. And it just blows people's mind. And I'm like,
Well,
man,
Jill
this is just the
Morstad,
beginning.
Jill Morstad, brilliant trainer. She and I have been friends for, you know, Julie McDonough, Jill, Diane Gallagher, Heather Houlihan, all these chicks, right? Been training dogs since Christ was a child. And basically, you know, the same things. It's like the people are Cindy McManus. Thank you.
Yeah, she's right here. Me. Look at, she's like, me.
You, Cindy. You, Cindy, with your giant rockhead Rottweilers, right? Doing amazing stuff with her dogs, right? So here are all these women that are achieving extraordinary things with their dogs, okay, through a lifetime of handling and training. And basically, every one of us has a standard with which you can apply these things that you've learned in a measurable way. It's not that hard. No one's saying you have to go in and win, you know, your Och, right? No one's going in and saying that you have to be, you know, a podium 1, 2, 3 placement at the IPO, you know, overseas in Germany.
Your front has to be like perfect, or your finish has to be.
It does to me, damn it. It does to me, right? But the thing is, though, is if you can. Here's the thing: if you can take your dog through a novice exam, okay, there's a high likelihood that your dog is going to be responsive outside of the ring. If you train for outside of the ring, if you're training for the ring, it doesn't matter. All you're interested in is scores. That's all you're interested in. If you're training for life, when you go into the ring, you're training, you know, you're demonstrating the work that you put in. Okay? Do you see the difference between the two?
Yeah, it's like etiquette. I mean,
exactly.
You're giving your dog a baseline of etiquette.
Exactly.
So when he's out of that ring, the dog knows how to behave in the world. And not only that, but you trust your dog, and the dog has discernment. That's the biggest thing that I learned from Tony.
Exactly. I would be horrified.
Discernment. You know, let the dog discern. Let the dog show you.
I would be horrified if I brought my dog to ringside and he acted like some of these asshats I see at ringside with their dogs. I would be horrified. If I walked out of the ring and my dog acted like that, I would be mortified. Right? Yes, they are decreasing the standards these days. One of the things that and Jill, who is basically a national obedience championship competitor or finalist, you know, a lot of these people that I run with are or have been there at least, and basically it's like the biggest crowds are drawn. Used to be at the stays when they were doing the group stays years ago. It used to be a group stand stay, right? Yeah. In utility. At least I think it was utility. I can't remember. But basically, the long downs, the long sits out of sight, and even in novice obedience, you'd have reams and reams and reams of dogs being able to maintain these positions, and owners were just mystified. Their big thing was, can you make my dog do that? Right? The easiest damn thing, right? Nikki Butler, she, a couple of months ago, posted a video, and I thought it was the most charming thing I ever saw. Was her 3 dogs and her crazy ass cat all hanging out in her family room. I don't know what the Brits call it. I think it's a family room. I don't know. Could be a drawing room. I don't know. No, but it's a sitting area, right? It's where you kind of sit and watch TV and what have you. And basically the whole thing is here's a bunch of dogs sitting here doing nothing, right? Because they've been taught that you're not allowed to do anything else. Okay? When I say stay, or when I even imply stay, it means this is what you do until I tell you you're done. People are mystified by that. You have a group of people saying, well, why would you do that? That's so cruel. Are you kidding me? If I'm sitting here eating dinner, and like I'm just like every other American family, we eat in front of the tube, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna place my plate on my footstool as I go into the kitchen and get myself a drink of water. And I expect my dog to leave my shit alone.
Me too, man.
Right? That's what stay does. That's what stay does. Okay? So people call, and this is the other thing, place.
What the hell?
Place. Everyone with the place command, right? What do you think place is? It's a prolonged stay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I can't stand, especially in open and utility. I can't stand watching those dogs come out of the ring. I want to kill myself. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for the sport. Walking through the benching area, walking through the crating area, and having obedience dogs. And we're talking the dogs that are at the epitome of the sport, flinging themselves at my legs as I walk by. Are you kidding me? This is behavior that's acceptable? Come on now. But, oh, hey, we don't want to dampen their drive for the ring. I do. Let them out of that cage.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, too, is hello. It's right here in front of me. You know, that's what I can't get is like, it's obvious. It's right there in front of you. This dog is bouncing off the leash and it's.
How do I make him stop?
Or people,
don't let him do it.
I've seen people driving down the street with the dog, but boom, 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 barking right in their ear, man. And I'm just like, or the dog just bouncing from window to window to window to window, and I'm just like, how can these people not realize that that's a problem?
Because they have been indoctrinated for so long, Bill, and I honestly believe this. They've been told for so long that telling their children no is verboten, and so therefore, subsequently, telling your dog no as well. And as a result, we've got this really repressed society that doesn't know how to cope. Right? We've created this for ourselves. This is the future, right?
Well,
these people are going to be taking.
If you're uncomfortable, there's a pill for that. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And and we every trainer, every professional trainer out there sees these dogs. If they have it, they will eventually. Excuse me.
Well, well, go ahead.
But basically, what's happening is we're endorsing this behavior, and these people. The whole posse nation is telling them, you can never tell your dog no, it'll crush his spirit. And watch me.
Yeah, I'm not ready to tell my dog no just to make them mad. No, just kidding.
Right? I mean, Pearl, God bless her, this dog, she is more like me than any animal I've ever owned, and I've owned dozens. And she is just like me in the regard to where there's two things you don't do. One is you can't dare me to do anything. Yeah. You just can't. It's a stupid move. And the other thing is I'm one of those people that is basically like, when you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, yeah, watch me, hold my beer, right?
Yeah. Or you tell me to do something, I was just going to do that, but now that you told me, like
this dog is me, right? With scranky looking, right, fuzzy headed thing, right? She's me because I'll be like, Pearl, you can't do that, and she'll be like, yeah, watch me, F you. But she's I say a lot of stuff about her, but she's pretty highly trained, very responsive. She doesn't go anywhere on a leash. I can take her everywhere. Places to send out to some.
Or left or right side. Left is heel and place is right to be on.
I use heel and right. Yeah.
Or heel.
I just
place.
Say right. I use the same language that I use with my kid. All right, don't do that. Right.
Is it me, or does everyone seem more and more less commitment by owners to achieve the standards we all expect? So it causes us to look for ways to achieve those standards in a shorter period, if that makes sense.
I'll tell you something. I said this many, many years ago, and I honestly believe it's true. It's not up to us to give the owner what they want. It's up to us to give the owner what they need. Right? So you hook them. The owner comes to you, calls you on the phone, sends you an email, and says, I got a dog that does X, Y, Z. You're like, oh, yeah, no problem. We can fix that. And when they get there and whether you choose to use a dog that you demo, a dog in training, or their own dog, which is what I prefer to do, because it's smoke and mirrors. It's magic. You can manipulate behavior so easily if you know what you're doing. And owners are just like, oh, my God, that's so awesome. And then by the time they're hooked, they're like, so how much work is it going to take? A considerable amount of effort, and we have this plan so that you're going to see results almost immediately. And then you give them what they want, and then you leave them wanting more, right? Yeah. So some of my more successful students because I got a real hard line on this. I will not work with anyone who will not work with me. And basically, it's like, you go through a trial. All of us do it. Every single one of us do it. We do a lot of gatekeeping, right? And I've become very, very selective in the clients that I will work with. I'm not going to work with people who are like, what are you going to do for me? I want to work with people who are like, what can you do to help me?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm hungry.
Exactly. And my website is nothing but one giant gatekeeper. If you can't follow instructions on my website, you're an idiot. And on top of that, I mean, it's specifically set up to winnow the wheat from the chaff. If you've gotten through that first line of defense, right, and then we actually have a phone conversation, I can weed you out in about 5 minutes, right?
What are some disqualifiers?
Go ahead. Some of the disqualifiers? It's just language. It's just a matter of how they parse language, because it's all about.
Can you tell me about some of your methods?
Well, that doesn't even bother me so much anymore, because I'll tell them straight off the bat. You're more than welcome to. And Chris says this. A lot of folks that I think John, a couple other people that I know have done this also. It's like, go, adventure out into the world and go visit everyone else, and then come out here. So that way, if they find someone that they're in agreement with, you're not going to see them anyways, and you've dodged a bullet.
Yes.
Right? If they get to you and they're like, you know what? I'm not really happy with the things I saw. You've got yourself another, you've just made some money, right? You've made bank, because the person has done the research for you, right? They've actually done the winnowing for you, and they've all of a sudden decided that what has been available is no longer acceptable. They want something different. They want something better. Right? So
and you're not selling them. You're there.
No,
and that's what I hate people selling people. I'm like, dude, you know what? I
suck at selling. I'm horrible at it. My husband is a great salesperson, and my closing rate is probably 95%, and his is 0.
Okay.
Honest to God, because people don't want to be sold to. All right, how many people here? Right? Every time you turn on your TV, every time you open Facebook, you're being sold to.
Yeah.
We're getting tired of it. Tired of it.
I think they want authentic, and they want, they don't want these bite-sized, like overly produced and marketed pieces. They want the real McCoy. They want the truth, and that's why I do these long form conversations. Like, look, we don't have any set time. It's just we're going to go and see where we visit, and I think that people are hungry for that.
And people are tired of slick. People are really tired of slick. And I'm like, and I say this a lot, except I say it in my best George Burns voice. I just need a really long cigar, right? Ambiance doesn't train dogs. Skills do, right? Because ambiance doesn't train dogs. And then the thing that people don't realize is you're paying for that ambiance. You're not paying for the skill. You're paying for the feels. You're paying for the, it's so wonderful here. You come here and you're paying for 47 years of actually being in the tech, right? Yeah. And it's like, there's very few answers. There are very few questions that I cannot answer. And I'm still the same person who 25, 30 years ago would be like, something I don't know, let me find out for you.
Yeah, same.
Right? There's a lot of shit I haven't done. I've never titled a dog an IPO. I don't even know what they call it anymore. IPG or something. It's not Shetland anymore. But I've decoyed, right? I've handled. I've done upland bird dogs. I've done retrievers. I haven't done sled dogs. I haven't done, oh my God, help me out here. Stock dogs, right? There's a lot of stuff that I haven't done that I would love to do, but I'm running out of time. So I have to pick what I want to do, and I want to stick with the stuff that I enjoy, right? So if everything looked like a retriever, I'd be happy.
You can die. You'd be missing.
I would die a happy woman.
Well, Linda,
I'm hitting myself in the head with a frozen duck in Miller's middle field. That's exactly what I'm doing.
I want to do an episode with you where we just talk about puppies too, because I know you're wealth of knowledge, and we can just get into puppies. And so
you want to see me squee like a little girl?
Yeah, I do.
Put me in front of puppies. I'm just like any other neurotic new mother on the face of the planet.
I'm getting my new little pack of puppies too. We've had some dogs in my pack go to heaven, and we just bought my clients just bought a new burner, a female burner, showing me pictures, and And I love puppies too, man. And I love that, the new generation, as we're dog trainers, and the longer that you're in it, you're going to get the new generation of the dogs that are coming through. And it's, in some ways, it's almost like a do-over, but you use your knowledge that you've learned. You use, and that's where, like what you were saying about crying because you've done it so wrong. I've done that too, where I've had a realization like, oh my gosh, if I just knew this technique with that dog, then the dog's still here. I mean, it might not still be here because it's dead of old age, but I know that the behavior could have been fixed a lot sooner and addressed in a lot more effective and efficient manner.
Absolutely. And it's, I tell you what, I mean, it's like you talking about scars, right? Every single one of us that has a freaking heart has many, many holes in it. And most of them were wrought by dogs. Dogs we cared a lot about. Dogs that we may or may not have failed. And I think that I don't know if Chris is still here or not, but some of the most rewarding and enriching experiences for me throughout my entire storied career has been the dogs that walk out of here just with smiles on their faces. And you can't tell me they don't smile, because they do, right? Some of the most touching experiences I have ever had is we had a woman, this has been quite a few years, she had 2 dogs, she lived in Florida. We trained both of them. One of them, we had to coordinate being flown out. It was over the holidays. It was between Christmas and New Year's. It was a fucking pain in the ass. Don't ever do that again. But the first dog that she had sent with us was with us, strictly Keeler. Dog was here for 13 weeks, and he had been horribly misappropriated by his decedent male owner. Guy used to beat him with a cane. I mean, the guy had some mental issues to begin with, but the dog was sour. He's about 5 years old. He was a half American Eskimo, half Westie, right?
Oh, wow.
And beautiful dog, but man,
white dog?
All white, with that shitty ass Westie coat, right? So he was a pain in the ass to groom, and of course, if you couldn't touch him, he was even more of a pain in the ass to groom. But by week 5, this dog went from being, if you come near me, I'm going to kill you dead, to, oh my God, my world has just opened up for me. And he went from being this sour, nasty, horrible, horrible animal to being this happy, freeloading, just the world is my oyster. I'm the happiest thing on the face of the planet. What crushed me, I was in a blubbering mess when that dog pulled out of my driveway, because he was in the back seat of his owner's car, and he flipped his head so that, he was turned his head so he was looking back at us as he was driving out, and he was sad. I could tell he was unhappy. He wanted to stay. And I felt so bad, because I was like, you know what, little dude? I would have kept you, and you could have died here a happy dog. I mean, he went on to be happy, right? Right. But I think his whole thing was, I'm going back to that hell. I honestly believe that he thought he was going back to that hell. And I'm like, there are certain dogs that just touch you that way. I have another friend, she's a good friend of mine now. We trained her dog. Yeah, we trained her dog. This dog was an idiot. I mean, he wasn't a bad dog. He was not harmful at all. There was no malice in this animal at all. This person had gotten this dog way too young. He was like 4 or 5 weeks old. His eyes were still blue. He didn't even have all of his teeth in yet, for God's sake. And he basically grew up to be this giant mastodon. When I first saw him, I think he was probably 7 or 8 months old, and he looked like a giraffe. I mean, this dog, he had this teeny tiny little body and these super long legs, and just really disproportionate. I mean, it looked like he was built by a committee of blind people. And just a big dope, just a big idiot. Dave Cochran would remember this dog, because he actually handled him for me a couple times. And he got to about puberty, and he basically decided that he wanted to be an asshole. He wanted to be a badass. He thought that he was going to start laying his mouth on people. And his owner basically got to the point where she was terrified of this dog. And we went through the training. I worked her through her fear, and she kept the dog. And he's still with her today. And now he's an elderly statesman who basically is still, a wonderful dog and a perfect companion for her. And I mean, it's the things like that affect the reason that I want to continue doing this until I drop over and die with a leash in my hands, right? But
Yeah.
it's like the rote going through the same crap day in and day out, and then being attacked by people who have never met you, and being
Yeah.
attacked by shitty legislation, and of course being attacked by dogs who have been misappropriated by stupid owners. You're kind of like, God damn, is it time for me to quit yet?
Yeah, it starts to make sense why the average is about 4 years before people get the heck out of it,
Yeah.
And that's why the importance of learning from the people that choose to stick around.
Yep, it is.
What's wrong with us?
I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with us. I don't know what's wrong with. I've always been a psychopath, anyways. My sister's a sociopath. I'm just a what's the word for people who like being punished?
Sadist or
masochist. Yeah, I'm just a masochist. Yeah, I must be. I guess I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So look, I got to get going because I got to eat.
I know. We've been talking for a while. So what would be the best way for people to get a hold of you if they wanted to have you work with them or had any questions about their puppies or lived in your local area?
Well, people who live in my local area, basically my web presence is lionheartcanine.com. I do an outreach program for newer trainers. I am very discreet. I don't share information that folks don't want shared, and I do an online coaching program, much like Chris does. And for the most part, it's just in its infancy. I do Lionheart Canine, the letter K, the number 9.
Oh, okay, there we go. Let me.
Yep. And basically, it's like I'm more than happy to help you. I'm more than happy to reach out and work with you. I invite people to come and visit. I've had several folks who have come out just to hang out, talk dogs and bullshit. I don't have a problem with that. My doors are open to anyone. Come with an agenda, and I'm going to hurt you. But if you come with an open mind, I think you're going to walk away a little bit more. I don't know. I don't want to say woke because that just sounds stupid coming out of my mouth.
Wow.
But you're gonna have a little bit of a different impression, both of training in general and your obligations as a trainer to this trade.
Yeah, I just scrolled down at all of these comments here too. So, thank you, Linda. I appreciate your time today, and let's do this again about puppies and
yeah. Oh, honey, you think I talk a lot now? Get me started on puppies. You'll never shut my ass up.
I want to have a couple puppies here that maybe puppies. I can have to show up.
I love puppies.
I do too. I love puppy breath, man. I love it all.
Oh my God, I know. It should be a cologne.
Little smushes, and squishes.
Mine comes after October 9th.
What kind of puppy you getting?
I'm getting another English Shepherd. A lot of folks don't know I lost his Vi in February of this last year. He was a very young dog. And I had put my hat in the ring for another sometime over the summer, and then I got to thinking about it. I just couldn't do it. I emotionally was not ready for that. And then Pearl, God bless her, is the one that actually said, "Bitch, you need to get off your ass. You need another freaking dog." So I'm like, okay, fine. And her sister, Chuck, actually just had a litter, so I'm hoping I get one of them.
Awesome. Well, and maybe when you get that dog, that's when, or that puppy, maybe we'll do another live and we can meet them and talk about what you're doing for imprinting and just what a normal day looks like for you and yeah. And everybody else share this. This was a great conversation with a veteran. And,
my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you again, Linda. And hold on one second. Let's say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll say goodbye to you on the other side here. So,
all right, good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Love you. Mean it.